Hi, it's Amy from Select Travel Holidays, home of Cruise Select. I'm on board Emerald Sun. I've been enjoying the most fantastic lower Danube river cruise with Emerald Waterways it's actually a Budapest round trip. It's been a 5-night, I guess a sampler of the lower Danube itinerary. It's not been the full one, but we've been able to see some of the main stops and go on some of the excursions that they offer, and including 2 Emerald Plus excursions, which are absolutely incredible, absolute highlights. It's been such a special and amazing trip. I must admit, I do love Emerald. I think they're a fantastic river cruise line. They offer great value for money. There's plenty of inclusions, great food, interesting and varied activities both on board and ashore. And the crew, in my experience, both on this trip and my previous trip on the Douro and Emerald Radiance, they're fantastic. So yes, I must admit I'm quite a massive fan of Emerald. So here I'm going to take you on a bit of a tour, a ship tour. We're going to look at some of the public areas, but also have a little quick look, a little glimpse in some of the different cabin accommodation grades. There are 4 decks on board Emerald Sun, including the Sun Deck. 3 of the decks feature accommodation. On our ship tour today, we're going to start with the Sun Deck, which is of course on the top. It's an open deck, so it's open to the elements, which for us, we were very lucky. We had absolutely stunning weather, so it was just absolutely gorgeous being on the Sun Deck. It was very aptly named. On the Sun Deck you have truly unrestricted views, basically 360 all around you, so it is very popular, especially when you were blessed as we were with the weather. And of course there's lots of seating, sort of sun lounges, etc. There's a bit of cover with some sort of gazebo-y type things up on the Sun Deck, as you can see. And of course you've got the Captain's Bridge. There is a bit of sort of a golf putting area. You can play a bit of, as I say, a bit of putting on the sort of the crazy golf green bit at the very end. A lot of river ships have the giant chess sets on the Sun Deck, but Emerald Sun has sort of a more like noughts and crosses, I think it was meant to be. And there's also a sort of walking or running track which goes around the very edge of the Sun Deck. But you could also, we did some yoga first thing in the morning and some stretching with the wellness coach Rena. That's actually scheduled to be in the pool area, but actually we opted to go up onto the Sun Deck. Like I say, the weather was just so glorious. It was an opportunity not to be missed. We're now going to go downstairs to the Horizon Deck. If we start at the aft of the ship, we'll find the pool area I've just mentioned. So this is inside, but it has a retractable roof, and it's a particularly innovative feature that Emerald Cruises are particularly proud of. It can be found on most of their European ships, with perhaps a notable exception being Emerald Radiance, which is actually on the Sun Deck, because of course Portugal and the Douro is perhaps slightly more reliably warm than perhaps the countries visited on, say, a Danube cruise, for example. So you have a lovely pool with a stunning view of the wake of the ship as you swim. I regret now not taking a swimming cosy with me, because I have been reliably informed that it was amazing, and particularly when the ship's cruising and you get to see the surrounding landscapes and the wake of the ship as you swim. But obviously you could also enjoy a little bit of a rest in a lounge there, because there are some sun lounges. As I mentioned, it's got a glass retractable roof, and it also has a really cool feature whereby they sometimes have film night there. So the pool water gets removed, comes up, and you can enjoy sort of a projected film. But yes, that was quite popular, the evening cinema. As you then continue through Horizon Deck, There's obviously some accommodation. You've got some of the panorama balcony suites, and the two categories of top suites, which are the grand balcony suites and the owner's one bedroom suite. You can find out more about accommodation in a separate video. We do have more of an accommodation tour, which goes into a little bit more depth and detail about where these cabins are, the distinctions, what's included, etc. So once you again keep moving forwards to the front of the ship, you then have the Horizon Bar and Lounge, which is really, I guess, the sort of social heart of the ship. You have all sorts of activities going on here. Sometimes it might simply just be watching the world go past, because of course you have fantastic panoramic views from the floor-to-ceiling windows. There's a coffee machine which makes some excellent well, instead of mocha, it's called Chocchiato coffees. That was very delicious, and a water machine. You also have some light meals available. There's a sort of an early rising breakfast is available every day in the Horizon Bar and Lounge, and a light lunch option, which is really nice because you can sit right at the very front, just in front of the terrace. So, and you've got stunning views. We did that on the first day as we were sort of cruising past Budapest's Parliament building, so that was fantastic. And so each day they have a bit of salad, sort of a main meal that will change, like a hot main meal, sandwich of the day, and some soup. And I think there are some desserts as well. They also serve daily afternoon teas in the Horizon Bar and Lounge. So yes, all sorts of things happen here, including a lot of the onboard enrichment. During our cruise, we saw the chef give a demonstration of some Serbian cheese pie, which was delicious. In the evenings, before dinner, you'll have the daily port talk from your cruise director and enjoy a pre-dinner cocktail while you're at it. Horizon Bar and Lounge is also where you'd enjoy the entertainment in the evening. It could be something like a quiz. They're quite popular. We actually won on the first night, so that we were on board, so that was very exciting. And they also sometimes do dancing. They might have local entertainment brought on board for you. So yes, as I say, it is the social heart and hub of the ship. If you go to the very front, there's an alfresco area in front of the lounge called the Terrace. You can, again, just enjoy the really comfortable seating, perhaps for a coffee or a glass of wine, etc. And have basically the wonderful view of the front of the ship, and enjoy the passing landscapes. We now make our way down to the Vista, or second deck. In terms of accommodation on this deck, you'll find exclusively panorama balcony suites, which are exactly the same as those on the Horizon deck above, with the same decor, amenities and the size, just in different locations on the ship. You'll also find the reception area and cruise director's desk here, in the chic atrium with its eye-catching trio of lights, where you'll often board the ship. For those perhaps unfamiliar with river cruising, there are occasions where another ship might be docked portside, meaning that your ship is docked on the riverside, so you'll have to either climb over the first ship's sun deck or go through its reception area. Unfortunately, lifts are very rarely available on the sun deck of a ship due to low bridges on rivers, but a lift is available on Emerald Sun for the Riviera, Vista and Horizon decks, and it can be found near the cruise director's desk on the Vista deck. The Reflections restaurant is on the Vista deck. Like the decor everywhere else we've seen, it's modern and chic, but I also think it's an excellent example of how minimalist Emerald is, allowing the focus to really be drawn to the beauty of the rivers you're cruising and the destinations you're visiting. Like with the Horizon Bar upstairs, there's minimal obstruction for the eye line. You have floor-to-ceiling windows along the length of the ship's exterior walls, and it really has a light, airy ambience that's almost dazzling. The staircase areas on both the Vista and Horizon deck extend this, with the use of windows and mirrors. All these areas practically make you feel so close to being outside, like you're practically floating on the river itself, or at least that's how it seemed to me. Although there was a couple of times where I was scared I'd almost walk into some glass, but luckily I didn't. We've already seen that lighter meals are served upstairs in the lounge, but the main dining is of course in the Reflections restaurant, open for breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's also worth noting that sometimes on the sun deck there will also be sort of an alfresco barbecue, but unfortunately we didn't get the opportunity to experience that during our 5 nights Budapest round trip last week. Breakfast and lunch in the Reflections restaurant are buffet, although of course for lunch you can order the sandwich of the day or the main course or something from the always available from your waiter. Dinner is a la carte. Usually on an ordinary night it is sort of an appetizer, main and dessert, although Emerald also have what's called a Captain's Welcome or Captain's Farewell dinner, where you get something a little bit more special. They push the boat out, excuse the pun, and then you'll enjoy, we had a cold appetizer, a hot appetizer, delicious sorbet, a main and of course dessert. And if you're in one of the one-bedroom owner suites on deck 3, you'll also be invited to join a captain for dinner on the special gala nights. Of course, the poor captain had to make do with a load of British travel agents on our cruise. Despite the fact that there are sort of, I guess, gala nights on board, the dress code is still fairly relaxed. I mean, one of the main differences with ocean and river cruising is that river cruising is a lot more low-key. It's a lot more personable because you're generally having a much smaller ships, and so you'll often find that there's not really any sort of dress code as such, certainly not any formal nights, and that's definitely not the case with Emerald, possibly in part to being an Aussie company. It's definitely a lot more relaxed. Personally, I always enjoy dressing up for dinner, but it's certainly nothing that's mandatory. With lunch and dinner, beers, wines and soft drinks will be included. Outside of those dining times, drinks are chargeable, with of course the exception of the coffees and teas that you get from the 24-hour coffee machine. I'd say actually, to be fair, drinks prices are fairly reasonable on board. I tended to just have perhaps some Prosecco before or after dinner, and it was like €5.50. However, you can choose to opt for a drinks package. The premium drinks package equated to, I think it was €25.19 per day, and that includes cocktails, etc. So that it depends on what you think you'd benefit more from. Whether you'd think that'd be good value for money, but you could always opt to buy it on board.
Finally, on the Vista Deck at the aft, you'll find the fitness and wellness area where you can perhaps try to burn off some of those calories in the gym, which features a rowing machine and a couple of bike machines with back support. Opposite the gym, the wellness area offers various spa treatments, including massages, which, from what I heard, seem to come with rave reviews. But you can also treat yourself to a facial or a mani-pedi. Spa treatments are, of course, chargeable. The fourth and final deck is the Riviera deck, which I tend to call the Duckling deck because it's just below water level, so accommodation on this deck feature picture windows rather than the floor-to-ceiling windows. There is a small shop here selling jewellery, but it's really just mostly accommodation, primarily the Emerald staterooms with 2 Emerald single staterooms too.
Well, thank you for joining me for our virtual ship tour of the gorgeous Emerald Sun. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed my time on board, and I think you'll agree that she is a very stylish, gorgeous ship. Of course, we've just looked at the public spaces, so the areas where you can relax, be entertained, eat, etc. I've given you perhaps a few sneak peeks of some of the accommodation. If you would like to find out more about the accommodation, we do have another video which showcases the various sort of staterooms and suites that are on board. But of course, this is just the hardware, the physical spaces on board the ship. And as I say, she's clearly very stunning, as are the rest of the Emerald Cruises fleet. With the exception of Emerald Radiance, which cruises the Douro, Emerald's 8 award-winning starships in Europe are basically identical. Like I say, with Emerald Radiance there's a few little tweaks because the Douro the conditions are just that little bit more different. So that will affect the size of the ship, for example. So there are some differences. However, you'll find that the aesthetics, the ambience on board are the same. So you could feel like you could hop from one Emerald ship to another and you'd feel immediately at home. But of course, really, I'd say the key part of that really is the crew. In both my experiences cruising with Emerald on both Emerald Radiance and Emerald Sun, the crew have been beyond fantastic. They really are just so incredibly friendly and professional, and just very personable. Fantastic service. And so, like I say, this ship tour, yes, it's the hardware, it shows you, I guess, the nuts and bolts, you could say, but really what makes a river cruise is it's not just how stylish and comfortable your floating hotel is, which of course it is. It's the experiences you get to enjoy both on board, say for example the enrichment, or perhaps just relaxing. The excursions, shoreside, etc. There's a lot of different components that make river cruising so special. And I think that Emerald Cruises, their individual components make them so special. We've looked at the ship, seen how stunning it is. As I say, the crew are fantastic, the food is brilliant. I think also what I love a lot about my experiences with Emerald has actually been the fantastic variety of shoreside experiences and also onboard enrichment. So you get a lot. I think it's fantastic value for money. For example, there'll always be included excursions, but there'll often be the choice, for example, of an Emerald Active, and also their Emerald Plus excursions, which are also included. I think are really quite special, especially on the cruise we've just done. There were some really amazing experiences that certainly created a lot of memories that will last forever really with me, and really sort of resonated and really made the trip really special. So as I say, yes, this video has been all about the hardware, all about the ship and all the beautiful public areas, but an cruise of Emerald Cruises is so much more than that, with their Emerald moments, and of course that's something else we'd always be happy to talk to you about. But as I say, I hope you've enjoyed this ship tour. I hope it's given you a little bit of an insight, a little bit of a glimpse, but as I say, it's only just one part of the story, but I hope you've enjoyed it. So thank you for watching.